McSally. I represent Arizona 2, one of 9 members of Congress that actually represents a southern border district, and I chair the Border and Maritime Security Subcommittee on the Chairman's Committee. And we've been working on this for 4 months. It has been an absolute honor and a privilege to be part of this effort, to be at the White House yesterday. And through our tireless efforts over the last 4 months, we have come up with what we think is a very important and reasonable and fair bill to address the priorities of the American people and the priorities of our constituents, while also providing a legal solution for the DACA recipients. Border security matters so much to districts like mine. We see transnational criminal organizations trafficking through communities that I represent all the time. This is a public safety threat. It is a national security threat. And I'm glad we're finally able to partner with an administration who has the willingness and the desire for us to secure our border to keep us safe. And this bill does that. It's the bill passed out of our committee we worked tirelessly on to provide real border security. In addition, there's public safety issues in there like case law, sanctuary city crackdown, also addressing, closing some loopholes that are very important. Right now, even if we were to 100% seal the border, we still have people that the cartels are trafficking and taking advantage of that are turning themselves in. They're finding Border Patrol agents, and they know how to say exactly the right thing, and then they disappear to the interior of the country for a court date years in the future that they never show up for. This isn't fair for those who have legitimate asylum claims, and it's not fair for those who are trying to make sure we enforce our laws and they're not being taken advantage of. So there's modest modifications to our policies in this bill to address this issue, to make sure that we don't have another population like DACA here in our country in the future. And we're back here again solving the same problems in 1, 2, or 5 years. So I think most Republicans would agree that they're willing to do something on DACA, but we have to make sure that we are guaranteed that we're not going to be in this position again. And we have to secure our border. So if you look at this proposal that we've put together, on the one hand you have the Democrats saying the DREAM Act or nothing, and that's it, and they're not willing to compromise at all, and they're willing to hold our military spending hostage, our men and women in uniform, which I brought up yesterday at the White House. And on the other end, the White House put out 70 points that they were asking for in the fall. Our bill covers about half of those. So we think it is a thoughtful and important and prioritized proposal that we are negotiating in good faith with the Democrats, and we would ask them to come to the table and work with us in order to get this across the finish line. I think if the American people understood all of these issues that we're bringing up in our bill today, they would all be in agreement that these are smart policies and changes so that we can secure our country and secure our communities and have an immigration system that's actually working for us. It's not everything that needs to be done. Don't let anyone call this a comprehensive immigration reform. That is not what it is. It is a very narrow bill that is focused on the priorities that we believe need to be paired up with any DACA solution for us to address the most important issues for our community and our country, and to ensure we're not in this situation again in the future. And it's been an honor to be working with my teammates here on this bill, and we look forward to getting strong support for it and getting it across the finish line.
Thank you, Martha. Questions?
Chairman, you said the bill doesn't create a special pathway to citizenship for DACA recipients, but could you please describe, is there a pathway to citizenship, and what does that look like?
So, as with anyone else who is not a citizen of the United States and wishes to get a green card and then citizenship, these DACA recipients would be eligible. For example, if an employer petitioned for them for an immigrant visa, or a family member, like their spouse, petitioned for them for an immigrant visa, they would be eligible to follow that process. But they would not get something that was created especially for them that would allow them to bypass millions of people who have gone through the process legally, and they and their families have entered the United States and become permanent residents legally.
Would it remove any touchback requirements, though? If they were, say, eligible for an employer visa, would they have to would they be able to stay here and do it?
It would not remove that at this point, no.
It would not remove the touchback. Okay.
It would, just to be clear, it would treat them like every other person who gets in the line. They would have to go through the same process that every other person, but we would not give priority to them over people that are trying to do it legally.
So what's the major change from the status quo for that?
Congress is authorizing it. What the previous president did was not constitutional from our view. So there needs to be a legislative solution, and we're giving them the opportunity to, every 3 years, have for paternity legal status here, to be able to work, go to school, travel, and take the existing paths that we have in our system to citizenship.
So
not
for any of these other categories for green cards.
Correct, but they will be able to travel outside the United States and return to the United States in this status without any difficulty.
Thank you guys very much.
Mr. Labrador mentioned that you need House leadership on this, but a number of the provisions in the bill are outside sort of the four-pillar scope that was established for negotiations in the White House yesterday.
They're all within the 4 pillars.
Well, the four pillars are DACA, border security, chain migration, and diversity.
And every one
that
of them.
deals with sanctuary cities. Case
Border
law.
security, case law, all those issues are needed for border security.
So my question is Leader McCarthy is upstairs right now meeting with Democrats. Is it your belief that he is pushing for this bill?
He is pushing for the 4 things that were agreed to, and if you look at what the Secretary of Homeland Security, Ms. Nielsen, distributed yesterday, you'll find all of these things on their list, with the exception of agricultural guest worker, which is there because we have a mandatory E-Verify program in our bill, and the 2 of those have to go together.
And as I mentioned, we've been working on this for 4 months, so these things are all happening in parallel. So we've got the final legislative touches on this to introduce it today, and in parallel, we went to that meeting yesterday. We're not going to adjust our bill based on what the discussion was yesterday, and we look forward to being part of the process.
And it's important to know that you need the House and the Senate to pass legislation. If you want the House to pass legislation that deals with the DACA population, you're going to need to have conservatives and moderates in the Republican conference to come together and work on this bill. This is the only bill that's going to unify the conference, and it's going to get us to a majority of the conference, and I think it can get us to 218 of the conference to support this. You had yesterday people as far wide as Bruce Poliquin to people on the other extreme of the conference saying that this is a good solution. So I think if we want to unify the Republican conference and unify the House of Representatives, this is something that we can do.
But do you believe this bill can pass the Senate?
I believe when the Senate understands, especially 9 senators that are in red states, that the people in their state actually want border security before giving any kind of benefits to the DACA population. I think we can get 9 senators to agree to this, absolutely.
Senator Labrador, yes, Senator. 2 questions. One, so I take it at this point you are not planning on being involved in any bipartisan talks on the House side. And 2, can you explain your decision to?
We will definitely be involved in bipartisan talks because the talks initiated at the White House yesterday are both bipartisan and bicameral.
Okay.
And
We're all
that,
But nothing.
the leader is meeting with the leader in the whip on the Democratic side, and the leader in the whip in the Senate on a schedule for those negotiations to continue.
Okay, that helps. And then on the question of legal immigration, your bill would limit legal immigration by 25%, as the handout says. Can you explain why you would want to do that, and especially given economic reason, given that falling birth rates is something that concern economists, and the Congressional Budget Office says would actually lower our growth without immigration?
We want to end chain migration except for immediate family members, spouse and minor children, and then move to a merit-based system. When we move to the merit-based system, some of those green cards that are eliminated from the extended family chain migration would be available for that purpose. And when we eliminate the visa lottery program today, we immediately transfer those green cards to the employment-based categories, which have long waiting lists right now to speed up the granting of green cards to people in those categories now. But this is not, as Martha has already said, this is not a comprehensive immigration reform bill. The President and others yesterday at the White House said that there would be further phases. We anticipate that in our bill by noting that the President wants to move to a merit-based system, but we don't attempt to do that in this bill.
Just to be clear, what the overall amount of legal immigration in your bill, this handout says, would go down from an average of over 1 million a year to it would go down by 260,000 a year.
That's
Is
correct.
that not correct?
That's correct.
Okay, why economically, why is that a good idea
Well,
in this
actually,
country?
your argument, your premise is wrong. If the
Okay.
people that are coming to the United States right now, that are coming based on family relationships, are not necessarily adding to the economy like you're saying. The overall.
I'm not making that argument. I'm
No,
just saying.
but that's what I'm saying, that your premise
Economists
of your
have said
question is wrong. When we move to a merit-based immigration system, then we're going to be meeting the needs of the United States. This is just the first step in a series of steps that we have to do to reform and modernize our immigration system. When we deal with the merit-based immigration system, then we will have an economic system that will be stronger than the current one that we have right now, that brings over 70% of people that are coming to the United States are based on family relationships and not the needs of the United States.
And in the future bill, that 260,000 green cards will be available for that merit-based system.
Mr. Labrador, if we can get some sound in Spanish, please, if you may.
Okay. Good luck. I was thinking in English, so.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
All right. I'll be brief. El propósito de nuestra legislación es simplemente para ayudar al presidente Trump a continuar con las promesas que le hizo al pueblo americano. El presidente le dijo al pueblo americano que necesitábamos, para que si él se elegía, y necesitábamos hacer las cosas necesarias para que la frontera sea mejor en el futuro. Lo que este sistema va a hacer es que nos va a dar una forma de arreglar los problemas que tenemos con la población que está aquí bajo el programa de DACA y al mismo tiempo prevenir que tengamos personas en el futuro que entren a los Estados Unidos ilegalmente.
¿Cómo es que soluciona el problema de DACA? Solamente le está dando 3 años.
No, 3 años que se pueden renovar. Así que son 3 años que se pueden renovar indefinitivamente.
Pero no hay paz, no hay un paso para la
ellos pueden arreglar por el paso que existe en este momento. Pueden, si se casan con una persona americana o tienen un empleador que les da una petición para hacerse residentes, ellos pueden usar ese paso que existe en este momento.
Has leadership offered support for this effort, and is there any indication about whether it would get a floor vote, regardless of what happens with these other bipartisan talks?
Well, developments are moving very fast here. The White House meeting yesterday, I thought, was a very successful meeting. And obviously, the focus right now will be on those negotiations. Our focus will be on showing that there is very strong support in the House for this approach, which, as Martha indicates, a fair and balanced approach to both doing something for DACA recipients and making sure that we make American citizens today secure in their own country.
And if I could add, the Secretary gave me a sort of must-have list in exchange for DACA. All those requests were incorporated in this legislation. We had a previous meeting with the President, just the 4 of us here, standing here, that I thought was very positive, very encouraging. Certainly got the sense that the White House is backing this effort, and I think that was exemplified in yesterday's meeting with the senators on both sides of the aisle when he said, you know, the Goodlatte McCaul bill is going to be the starting ground for these negotiations. Now, where this ends up, I don't have a crystal ball. But I can tell you, speaking on behalf of the 4 of us, we put a good deal of work into this. We think it's a very reasonable, common sense bill that will help stop the flow of opioids and drug trafficking, human trafficking, potential terrorists, and also provide a legal wall to protect the public safety of Americans. And I think that's where most people are in the United States. They're willing to accept a solution to DACA, but they want to make sure that the security of the United States is included in this package.
Is there a reason why we're not seeing the skill-based immigration included in this package, and when do we expect to see progress on skill-based immigration?
Well, there is a lot of things that are not included in this package. As Martha mentioned, of the 70 security provisions the administration asked for, 35 of those are not in here. In addition, other than the agricultural guest worker program, there is not a lot of other reform of our current temporary and permanent immigration programs. In other words, visitor programs, as well as programs that allow individuals to get an immigrant visa and permanent residence status. In addition, there are many other issues throughout the whole issue of immigration that are not addressing this issue. This is designed to address what it takes to fulfill the speaker's commitment, which was to make sure that we do something to help people who are in the DACA program today, a program that all of us agree was not constitutionally well formed by President Obama, and President Trump correctly ended, but then said we need to do something for those people. We addressed that, and at the same time the Speaker said we must make sure that this does not happen again. So to make sure that we are solving this problem, this bill is addressed at that concern, as well as the White House's concern about chain migration and visa lottery program.
Last question.
That's a question about the chain migration. I understand what you're trying to do in terms of this indefinite sponsorships for green card holders and recent citizens. But you're talking about constitutionally well-formed. How constitutionally do you limit certain citizens from sponsoring extended relatives? Because the other side is saying you're going to create a two-tier system of citizenship.
No. The immigration laws of our country have always been designed to enable people in this country to, under certain circumstances, under laws approved by the Congress, to petition for people to come into this country. They could be expanded, they could be contracted. We believe that chain migration is a problem that brings people into the country that do not necessarily add the things that a merit-based system would bring. So the first step toward accomplishing that goal is to end those categories that fit that bill. In addition, those categories for brothers and sisters of United States citizens and adult children of U.S. citizens and permanent residents, the waiting lists on those are so enormously long in many instances that there really is no longer a family reunification where somebody comes and then a short time later other family members can come and join them. We think this should be focused on an immigrant's immediate family, and we protect that and preserve that here and eliminate these more extended relationships.
Yeah, can I just add one final point? I think it's a broken immigration system. We're trying to fix it to bring in the best and the brightest into America. We don't want some random lottery system where people get in by just a random pulling out of a hat. That's not bringing in the best and the brightest of the United States. We want the scientists, the engineers, the people that can contribute to the American economy. And I think that's a lot of what we're trying to achieve here and what this bill is designed to do. In addition, the chain migration, the immediate family we protect, but extended relatives also I think raises a concern as well. And going back to the New York terror cases, we saw what kind of bad apples were coming into the country. So I look at it from a public safety, national security perspective as well.
Could I just address that issue real quick? I'm not sure I understood your question, but there's no constitutional right to bring your family to the United States. Nothing in the Constitution guarantees that. In fact, the Constitution grants Congress the ability to determine who comes to the United States and who does not come to the United States. And we can limit that or expand that at any time.
But there's currently a right for a citizen. I can sponsor...
There's no right to that. There's a current law that allows a citizen to do that, but that's not a constitutional right. That's been an ability that's been granted to citizens by the Congress. Congress expanded that list, and Congress can contract that list at any time.
But then the law that you're creating then would create some citizens who can sponsor a citizen.
No, we're not creating two classes of citizens. For everyone, we are eliminating parents, brothers and sisters, and adult children. For everyone.
That applies to me, that applies to you.
That's correct. That applies to everybody.
If you have a brother or sister that's not a United States citizen,
Yes.
this law would end your right to.
Spouse and minor children are protected.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.